Season 2 of Peacemaker throws our so-called hero into a storm of guilt, heartbreak, and self-destruction. But the real question is, does it all really have to be this tragic? In this chapter of his story, Peacemaker is spiraling. He numbs himself with drugs, meaningless hookups, and alcohol, half of which seem to come with ironic product placements. His friends, scattered. The woman he loves, ghosting him. Even Eagly, his loyal companion, has turned cold. To make matters worse, the world now sees him as nothing more than a beefy joke in a shiny helmet. And deep down, Chris is haunted. Haunted by the lives he's taken. His own brother, his abusive father, even Rick Flag Jr., an American war hero. Every mistake, every regret weighs heavier on him by the day. It's like I've been carrying the trauma since childhood, he admits. And now it's finally breaking him. It's a bleak, almost suffocating arc for DC's peaceful killer. Tragic, yes, at times even depressing. But maybe, just maybe, it's time Chris finally let it go. Sure, people don't like him. Sure, he's pulled the trigger on the wrong people while chasing peace. But hey, things could be a whole lot worse. After all, plenty of DC's greatest heroes and even villains have lived through tragedies far beyond Peacemakers. So let's take Chris on a much-needed journey of perspective. Because compared to some of DC's most broken souls, he's honestly doing just fine. Martian Manhunter, A Whole World Lost. If you want tragic, look no further than Martian Manhunter. John Johns saw his wife and daughter burn alive before his eyes. Not long after, his entire race of Martians was wiped out, sometimes by a psychic plague unleashed by his own brother, other times by invading parasites that tortured and consumed their kind. Different versions of the story exist, but they all end the same. He's utterly alone. The grief was so overwhelming that for a time, John used his shape-shifting powers just to see his family again, taking on their forms to feel like they were still alive. Yet despite carrying the weight of being the last Martian in the universe, he pressed on. Outcast or not, he chose to fight for justice, letting the memory of those he's helped keep him moving forward. Now that is pain, Peacemaker. The Robin Who Died. Everyone knows Batman's story. Young Bruce Wayne loses his parents in Crime Alley, shaping him into the Dark Knight. We also know about Dick Grayson, the first Robin, who became Nightwing after his parents were killed in a circus accident. But fewer people know about Jason Todd, the second Robin. Unlike Grayson, Jason grew up on the streets. His mother overdosed. His father vanished after a job gone wrong with Two-Face. By the time Bruce met him, Jason was literally trying to steal the tires off the Batmobile. Batman took him in, but Jason was rough around the edges, angrier, less disciplined. Fans didn't take to him, and in a shocking twist, DC let readers decide his fate. They voted for Jason to die at the hands of the Joker in A Death in the Family. Years later, Jason clawed his way back from the grave, reborn as the bitter, vengeance-driven vigilante known as Red Hood. Compared to that, Chris's problems look like minor speed bumps. Power Girl, the survivor of a universe Superman lost Krypton. Supergirl lost her planet too. But Power Girl? She lost everything. Unlike Kara Zor-El, Power Girl, Kara Zor-El didn't just escape a dying world. She escaped a dying universe. Her ship took longer to reach Earth, raising her with artificial holograms of Kryptonian parents. By the time she landed, Earth 2, her true home, had collapsed in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Later events would drive her nearly insane, reminding her that she wasn't just an alien orphan, but one of the last survivors of an erased universe. Imagine living with that truth. Bane, Raised in Darkness. Heroes aren't the only ones scarred by tragedy. Take Bane, the villain who once broke Batman's back. His father, the mercenary King Snake, abandoned him as an infant, leaving him to rot in a brutal Caribbean prison. There, Bane grew up surrounded by violence and death. He killed a man at age 8. His only friend was a teddy bear with a hidden blade inside. On top of that, prison guards experimented on him with the drug venom, turning him into the monster who would one day hunt Batman. For Bane, pain wasn't an accident. It was his entire upbringing. Saint Walker, Hope Through Loss. Among the Lantern Corps, Saint Walker stands for hope. But his story is one of relentless tragedy. As his world descended into chaos, he led his family on a pilgrimage to find salvation. One by one, he watched each loved one die along the way. Yet he clung to his faith, whispering, "All will be well." When he reached his mountain's summit alone, he realized he himself was the savior. A Blue Lantern ring found him, and his hope reignited his dying son. But even in victory, the cost was everything he loved. Crazy Jane, a shattered soul. The Doom Patrol is full of broken misfits, but none more tragic than Crazy Jane. Abused by her father from the age of 5, her psyche splintered into 64 distinct personalities. Later, a cosmic event granted each personality its own superpower. Inside her mind, her father became a monstrous figure, eternally tormenting her from the depths of her subconscious. Her story is pure tragedy, wrapped in powers she never asked for. Rorschach, a life of brutality. Walter Kovacs, better known as Rorschach, grew up with nothing but abuse. His father vanished, and his mother beat him. At 10 years old, he lashed out, scarring a bully with a lit cigarette. That was just the beginning. Over time, Walter embraced an unforgiving moral code, becoming the vigilante Rorschach. He uncovered corruption, fought villains, and eventually discovered a global conspiracy, one so big that his allies agreed to cover it up. Walter refused. In the end, he begged Dr. Manhattan to end his life, rather than compromise his principles. Mr. Freeze, a heart of ice. Victor Freeze wasn't born a villain. He was a scientist desperate to save his terminally ill wife, Nora. But tragedy followed him from childhood. An absent father, a drowning mother, and later, failed experiments that left Nora frozen in stasis. In some timelines, he never saves her. In others, she awakens only to resent him. Either way, his obsession consumes him, and Mr. Freeze becomes a prisoner of his own heartbreak. Cassandra Cain, silenced by training. Cassandra Cain's tragedy is different, quieter, but just as devastating. From birth, her assassin father trained her in silence, never allowing her to speak. Instead, she learned violence as her only language. She grew up unable to form normal bonds, unable to truly connect. Her mother, another deadly killer, offered no comfort. Eventually, Cassandra chose the name Orphan, a chilling rejection of parents who were still alive. Wally West, forgotten by the world. And finally, we reach Wally West. Once Kid Flash, once the Flash himself, then suddenly erased from existence. Trapped in the Speed Force, the entire world forgot him. No one mourned him. No one came looking. For years, Wally screamed into the void, trying to reach those he loved, and no one remembered his name. Even when Barry Allen finally pulled him back, Wally had to fight to rebuild his place in a world that had moved on without him. If Wally could survive a decade of non-existence, surely Peacemaker can survive being ghosted by his friends. Closing. So, Chris, here's the truth. Compared to DC's most tragic figures, you're not cursed. You're lucky. You're still alive. You still have a chance to change. Season 2 may show Peacemaker drowning in despair, but if history teaches us anything, it's that heroes and even villains can rise above the darkest beginnings. And maybe that's what fans need to see most. Not another spiral, but a true rebirth. Recent note, with James Gunn pushing the DC universe into a new era, there's already buzz about how Peacemaker's arc might tie into bigger crossovers. If that happens, Chris Smith may soon find himself standing beside or against legends who've carried far heavier burdens.